Hey friends, been busy, just like every one of y'all. Starting to recap day 5 of J6 hearings, uh, and it's ridiculous. I was gonna edit some video and stuff, but I'm not, man. This is all real, all just me. Um, Watching it for the first time, and these are my reactions. Okay, maybe I fade out for a minute, see a squirrel. You know what I mean? Just stick with me. It's just some dude saying screw it. No, I'll put it out there. You want to challenge it? You want to challenge what I say? If you want to offer up another opinion, I encourage you to find me. I'm right here on YouTube, right here on TikTok, because all I can really do is just like tell you this guy's perspective. Um, but I value my perspective. But I also want to encourage you to have faith in your perspective. Can't anybody take that away from you? It's yours. They would if they could, no doubt about that, man. Well, they would. They want it too, but and in a crazy way, man, they do own the perspective of many. Like, so everything is absolutely against us. Us. Who's us? Us are the only ones that matter. We're the people. We are the patriots. We are the domestic terrorists. And we're coming for your jobs. Fight it, whine about it, argue it. It doesn't matter. There are so many more of us than there are of you. And you cannot even begin to understand how much more heart we have, how much more pride we have than you do as you sit in your offices and your fancy whatever. You know, maybe your salary is technically supposed to be, I don't know, $160,000 a year. And when you become worth millions and billions of dollars a year, it, like, we're not dumb. We're not. Maybe we're not all highfalutin like you are. I still have a heart and soul that bleeds for this country. When we watch you ship all this money off to other places while you're driving us into the dirt, we, the people, a lot of us, we see through your bullshit, man. But we've always been taught, maybe not even taught, but just the way that we were raised in the years that you've forgotten about, like when our grandparents and great grandparents grew up through the Great Depression and had nothing compared to what we have now. Like, that's all still burned into us. Not your grandparents that started to manipulate the systems and the country and we the people. We the people are who made this country what it is, and unfortunately made you who you are. But fortunately, it's all coming to an end, man. Y'all are done. So much bullshit, so many lines of just crap. you just like, man, y'all would have done better with backing it down a notch 15 years ago, 10 years ago, as you're catching hold of this new digital revolution to where you can get into all of these youths' heads easily. You've had your time. You've underestimated we the people, and we're basically done with your shit. I think, or that's coming from me, right? That's just me. But one neat thing about all of this is, as much as y'all are trying to jack it up, is I'm realizing there are a lot more me out there than even I could have ever expected. The more I talk about it, the more I bring it up, the more I push that envelope just a little bit, the more I'm being opened up to the fact that, man, there's a lot of me out there. And me, the people, it's time to start thinking about your future, because we're coming. P.S. It's not about Trump, although Trump gave us the courage to stand up and say something, and he's not giving in. It's really not about him or you or any other overpaid elected official. It's about we, the people. And if you weren't so disconnected from who you represent, you'd realize that we're all that matters, not you. When it comes down to it, I'm going to protect my own. He's going to protect his own. And when you really get outside of your little sweet world you're in, you're going to realize you got no chance. Period. Choose freedom. Rise, patriot. I love you. Not you that I've been talking to, but you that have been hearing me. I love you. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a long road. But let me just encourage the fact that we're impatient as people. Especially now we can really get stuff anytime we want. Man, pick up your phone, it's right there. We're impatient, right? We want it now. But man, things take time to roll out. But I'm proud of all of you that have stood up and taken your school board position, taken any position away from these confused individuals that we've let talk for us. Because respectfully, I'm going to do me, you do you. I'm going to do me, raising my good family over here. Unfortunately, you've been doing you, breeding a tainted society. Man, it's all going to be fine. You leave us no choice.
Trump was told repeatedly that Mike Pence lacked the constitutional and legal authority to do what President Trump was demanding he do.
The people
This
have
is
that
testimony
authority.
6,
Watch the way they
2021.
label it. It just says January
What
6th.
exactly
And then over
did
here it'll say
President Trump
live.
know? When exactly did President
So
Trump know
they're
that it
like
would be illegal for Mike Pence to refuse to
tying,
count electoral votes?
and I guess it makes
Here
sense
is
from
one
a
sample of
marketing or
testimony
branding,
given by one of the
whatever kind of
witnesses
standpoint.
before us
Like,
today,
oh, I'm
Vice
gonna.
President's General
So
Counsel.
every time this video is shown in the future, it always say January 6th, January 6th. It won't actually say the date, like, hey, this is July or June, what, 26th. In the future,
To testimony
a
today
year,
about all of the ways
2 years,
that
10
President Trump
years,
attempted to pressure
20
Vice
years,
President Pence,
January 6th, January 6th.
including
First thing
Donald
that's
Trump's
coming up
tweet at 2:24 p.m. condemning Vice
is
President
these
Mike
guys,
Pence when President
not the people.
Trump
All the election corrupt to appoint a special
Basically.
counsel
I like that, basically.
to investigate alleged
Let's
election
use
fraud.
an open-ended
Sin,
word.
wherever you live in the United States, there's probably a local government executive,
Sure.
a mayor, or a county commissioner.
Or a
There's
sheriff.
also an official responsible for involves, a district attorney, or a local prosecutor. Imagine if your mayor lost a re-election bid,
Pretend.
but instead of conceding the race, they picked up the phone, called the district attorney, and said, I want you to say this election was stolen. I want you to tell them.
Okay. I'm playing a baseball game 20 years ago. Football game. Doesn't really matter. I'm doing something I take pride in. The only reason I'm on this established turf of whatever game or anything, challenge, whatever, and I get cheated, am I going to walk off the field? I know I got cheated. You know I got cheated. You know you got cheated. And you're just going to walk off the field and be good with that? It's not where I come from. That's not where we, the people, come from. That's not where our founding fathers came from. Would they have ever walked off of that field? No way, man. They would have walked into that field with no shoes on their feet, a shitty musket, starving to death, but willing to die for what they believed in. I caution you to pick apart those words. All these words we've been taught for all these years, the meanings. Think about what a word specifically means and the context in which it is or should be used in. Okay? Pay attention to, like, when something comes up and they want it to be damning, they will use and lead up to the use of said word to steer you away from the actual word that's out there you could use to define that particular statement. It can be very, very factual. We have words for that. You can say the election was stolen, or you could say he believes the election was stolen. They believe the election was stolen. They assume, whatever. But we, the people, know that we've been cheated, and how do you stand for it? Patience? I mean, patience. Gosh dang, it's hard, man. And I feel like I'm a patient person, but it takes time. It all takes time. Like, And it's so weird because I think, I see posts about you're watching a movie. And until, I don't know, a week ago maybe, I wasn't like, I heard it, but I wasn't feeling it so much. But it's kind of coming on to me like, we're in a movie. Or are we? Because like I know how it's going to play out in my heart and my soul, and I know how many other people have the same heart and soul feeling. So like we already know what's going to happen. Some of it's probably not pretty, but ultimately like we're righteous in our beliefs. And it kind of is a movie because you already know the ending. So, I mean, yeah, are we watching a movie? Like, patiently watching a movie? Lots of popcorn. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back to this.
Elections, not to certify the results.
I'm going to rewind
That's
it
essentially
because
what Donald Trump was trying to do.
essentially, there's one of those words. Essentially. That's not what he did. That's essentially what he did.
But instead of conceding the race, they picked up the phone, called the district attorney, and said, I want you to say this election was stolen. I want you to tell the Board of Elections not to certify the results.
Oh my gosh.
That's essentially what Donald Trump was
That's
trying to do.
pretty much what he did, and that's pretty much what he should have done.
United States. It was a brazen attempt to use the Justice Department to advance the president's personal political agenda. Today,
what are you doing?
my colleague from Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger,
Progressing your
and other
personal
witnesses
agenda.
will walk through the select committee's findings on these matters. But first, I recognize our distinguished Vice Chair, Ms. Cheney of Wyoming, for any opening statement she's cared to offer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this point, our committee has just begun to show America the evidence that we have gathered. There is much more to come, both in our hearings and in our report. But I'd like to take just a moment to put everything we've seen in context. We have already seen how President Trump falsely declared victory on November 3rd, 2020. How he and his team launched a fraudulent media campaign that persuaded tens of millions of Americans that the election was stolen from him. Donald Trump intentionally
It's not
ran
about Trump.
false ads on television.
It was stolen from us, but it's not about Trump.
That his advisors and his
He just
Justice
gave us
Department
the.
repeatedly told him were untrue.
He's
We've also
like
seen
our
how
George
Donald
Washington.
Trump launched a fraudulent fundraising campaign.
Keep making it about
Raised
him.
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Keep overlooking us.
Again, based
We're
on
coming.
the same false election fraud allegations. We've seen how President Trump and his allies corruptly attempted to pressure Vice Pence to refuse to count
Vice Pence?
lawful
Who's that
electoral
guy?
votes and obstruct Congress's proceedings on January 6th, and how he provoked a violent mob to pursue the Vice President and others in our Capitol.
Come on. All right. I'll be real with you. I was there. He didn't provoke me to do shit. I went to D.C. to occupy my 3 square feet of space in what I felt was an injustice. And alternatively, if I could whip some Antifa ass, that's kind of what I came geared up for. It's gross what they're doing to us. I'm glad you're watching because you're one of them. No. You're one of we. And the best thing we can do right now is encourage other we's out there. Man, there's a lot more of us out there. There's a lot more we's out there than maybe you ever realized. But they control it. The narrative. Everything from the way they label things, the way they speak. I mean, they got a lot of control, but they are underestimating a very powerful majority.
Seen how the president oversaw and personally participated in an effort in multiple states to vilify, threaten, and pressure election officials.
If I'm a supervisor or the owner of a company and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, I'm gonna go through a few tactics before I fire you, right? Like, I'm gonna try to ease in there and let you know, hey man, you're kind of like, you're kind of screwing up, or maybe you're overlooking some things. I'm gonna, this is an opportunity basically for you to know you're doing it. Maybe not, but to think, okay, at least maybe he's on to me, so I better straighten up, right? And that's kind of like stuff we've lived through since we were little kids, sneaking candy. That's nothing new to all of us in general. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna say, hey, basically, you're messing up. I'm gonna bring it up lightly. I'm gonna bring it up softly. I'm gonna bring it up in fewer words. I'm gonna bring it up more generally. But the whole reason you're bringing it up is because it is necessary to be brought up. It is necessary to make a lesson of this because it's that important. So the way it gets portrayed, that's a bad thing. But that's the way I raise my children. That's the way I hope everybody raises their children. There are lessons that need to be learned. And if you, okay, so you want to buck me, you want to buck the system, you want to buck the bedtime rules or brushing your teeth rules, 2 minutes. I know you weren't in there 2 minutes. It's been about 14 seconds. Go brush your teeth. That's the same kind of accountability that needs to be sought with these people. I mean, I guess everybody gets to identify as whatever they want, so maybe it's time that I'm allowed to identify them as what they are. And these people they just don't have the morals and the courage and pride to stand for my country, our country. We, the people's constitutional republic.
False allegations to pressure state legislators to change the outcome of the election. Seen how President Trump worked with and directed the Republican National Committee and others to organize an effort to create fake electoral slates, and later to transmit those materially false documents to federal officials, again as part of his planning for January 6th. We have seen how President Trump persuaded tens of thousands of his supporters to travel to Washington, D.C. for January 6th. And we will see in far more detail how the president's rally and march to the Capitol were organized and choreographed.
Not a chance.
The letter also said this, quote, "In light of these developments, the department recommends that the Georgia General Assembly should convene in special session," end quote.
Oh my gosh.
Approving a new slate of electors.
Oh my gosh, that is
a separate,
so
quote,
terrible to propose.
Slate of electors supporting Donald Trump has already been transmitted to Washington, D.C. For those of you who have been watching these hearings, the language of this draft Justice Department letter will sound very familiar. The text is similar to what we have seen from John Eastman and Rudy Giuliani. both of whom
Similar.
were coordinating with President Trump to overturn the 2020 election.
Which it should
When
be.
one of our witnesses today, Mr. Donahue, first saw this draft letter, he wrote this, quote, "This would be a grave step for the department to take, and it could have tremendous constitutional, political, and social ramifications for the country," end quote.
Should
This
have.
committee agrees. Had this letter
This
been
committee
released on
agrees.
official
That's why
Department
you're
of Justice
here.
letterhead, it would have falsely informed all Americans, including those who might be inclined to come to Washington on January 6th, that President Trump's election fraud allegations were likely very real.
I went because I was tired of
Here is another
Antifa
observation about this letter.
beating
Look at
up
the signature line. It was
old
written by Jeff
people,
Clark and Mr. Kukowski.
children.
Not just for Clark's signature, but also for our witnesses today,
I'm
Jeff
telling you.
Rosen and Richard Donahue. When it became clear that neither Mr. Rosen nor Mr. Donahue would sign this letter,
The Capitol
President Trump's
was
plan necessarily changed.
bonus.
As you will hear today, Donald Trump offered Mr. Clark the job of acting Attorney General, replacing Mr. Rosen, with the understanding that Clark would send this letter to Georgia and other states and take other actions the president requested. One other point.
Other
Millions of
states, like
Americans
all the
have seen
ones that are still
testimony of Attorney
pursuing
General Barr before this committee.
voter
At
fraud.
one point in his deposition, the former Attorney General was asked why he authorized the Department of Justice to investigate fraud in the 2020 election at all. Why not just follow the regular course of action and let the investigations occur much later in time?
Pause.
After January
Sorry,
6th?
got to do it.
Here's what he said.
Hold on, we'll hear what he said in a minute. Past tense. Past tense. I know it's dealing with January 6th, but present tense. It's where I'm at. Let's focus on all this past tense and church it up the way we want to sound just all sweet and peachy. But we, the people, are in the present tense. 18 months later. I mean, whatever. Good try. Keep trying to influence the narrative 18 months later. That patience thing that I've been talking about, those big old wheels that just take time to start moving and rolling, and then all of a sudden you start gaining some momentum, and then you got mass and you got power. You're still living 18 months ago. Maybe something to think about.
Felt the responsible thing to do was to be in a position
And this
to have
guy.
a view as to whether or not there was fraud. And frankly, I think the fact that I put myself in the position that I could say that we had looked at this and didn't think there was fraud.
All right, well, I ended up doing some editing, and I cut out some stuff where I just kind of rambled on, but really I just focused in on about half an hour of what I thought were key points that get overlooked, and pointing out, you know, some verbiage that gets used to try to kind of build the story that they're trying to portray about it. So I'm curious how it all pans out, how far they take it. You know, they'll beat the dead horse. So anyways, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. If you found anything insightful or enjoyable, please feel free to comment, share it if you feel necessary. Chop it up into pieces. I feel like, honestly, there were a couple of things that I said that should resonate with people. So feel free to do what you want with the video. I just kind of wanted to get it out there and say my piece on it. So like it or hate it. Appreciate you watching, and hit that like button. Thanks for your time. All right, see ya.